tiny bit of a break, and I am very excited to kick things off again by working on another tarot card doll. If you're new to my channel, I've been working on a series of dolls based on the major arcana and queen cards of the tarot deck. At the end of my last video, I drew 3 cards to pick my next doll from, and this doll will be based off of the Strength card. Strength is an interesting card because the idea of strength can mean so many different things to so many different people. But within the tarot card, strength really focuses on the influential, courageous, and compassionate sides of strength. Often when you think of strength, the first thing that comes to mind is the physical, hulking muscles and athletic speed. However, the Strength card speaks to the inner strength of the human spirit and the persistence to overcome anything you put your mind to. When the Strength card appears, it's an encouraging sign that you are ready to overcome any growing fears or self-doubts about a goal you have in mind. Your goal can be accomplished by channeling your inner strength, and you can achieve it through your personal power and determination, but not by applying it in a forceful way. You can achieve your desires through quiet influence and persuasion. In fact, the Strength card urges you to tame your animal instincts, raw emotions, and channel these responses constructively. It's normal to feel strong feelings and emotions, but it's how you navigate these emotions that makes all the difference. While doing research on the Strength card, I was really struck with how it represents strength as that kind of quiet determination. And I really wanted to create a doll that embodies the balance of wild versus calm and of being influential while not being domineering. I have been super excited to share this repaint with you. So enough talking, let's get started. For our Strength doll, I obviously wanted to go with a doll that radiates confidence, and I think that with her angular features and don't mess with me eyes, Cleo De Nile is the perfect doll to represent strength. I also haven't repainted her before, so I absolutely had to change that. As always, we're going to prep our doll for her transformation by first soaking her head in boiling hot water to loosen the glue that's holding in her hair plugs and to soften the plastic of her head so we can detach it from her body. I want to give her a whole new hairstyle, so now that her head's off, I'm coming in with my forceps tool to remove the old plugs, which will give us a fresh surface to add her new hairdo. Next up, Cleo has a beautiful factory face, but we need to give her a whole new face for the Strength card, so I'm coming in with pure acetone to remove the old paint. As always, I'm making sure to use pure acetone for this step because it won't melt the plastic like other types of acetone will. For the last part of the prep, I'm going to start adding her new hair. To go with the lion theme on the card, I'm giving her loose 3A style curls in a really pretty dark brown color. If you aren't familiar, this process is called rerooting, and it involves the meticulous process of taking strands of synthetic doll hair and poking it into the scalp of the doll. For our doll today, I'm going to be reusing the old holes left in her scalp from the old plugs, and adding enough plugs to give her a voluminous crown of curls. And once I'm done, I'll be wrapping her hair in a bonnet to protect it from the 3 layers of Mr. Super Clear sealant that I'll be using to prep the doll's skin for repainting. Now onto the face-up, and I'm starting with the subdermal color zones. Like with all my dolls, I've put together an undertone color palette that will harmonize with the doll's skin tones, and for this doll, I'm using a deeper ultramarine blue, an orange instead of red or pink, and a more prominent yellow. If you're wondering why the heck I'm adding all these crazy colors to the face, it's because I want it to look like there's bone and muscle and blood sitting underneath her skin. We all have different undertones ranging from cool, warm, and neutral that show through the skin, and adding these colors will add warmth and life to her face. Next up, we have to make it look like all these colors are sitting under the skin, so I'm grinding up the color I'm using as the base skin tone, and I'll be giving her 2 or 3 layers of this color to push it all back. So we can still see the subdermal colors sitting under the skin, which is great, but she's missing some life to her facial features. Coming in with dark browns for contouring, red for blush, and a pale beige for highlights will give her dimension to her face and make her look like a real person. Off camera, I gave her skin some texture and freckles to make it more realistic, and now we can start blocking in her eye shape. Cleo has really sharp and narrow eyes, which I think gives her a really powerful and confident gaze. I don't want to lose that, so I'm being really mindful of keeping my lines sharp and angled while I draw in her eye creases and lash lines. To go with her dark walnut hair, I'm giving her deep brown eyes and honey-colored highlights. For her eyebrows, I'm going for a power arch. Or rather, I'm giving them sharp angles to go with the angular features of her face, like her chin and cheekbones. Now for my favorite part, adding the little details using white paint. The whites of her scleras are looking a little flat, so I'm hitting them up with a few dots of white to brighten them. And then I'll be giving the pupils little catch lights to make her eyes look shiny. When I add paint highlights, I want to make sure that the marks are clear but not too prominent. So I'll often dull them down a notch by patting them with my fingers. I think this helps to keep them realistic looking and not cartoony. Then I want to emphasize the individual hairs of her lashes and eyebrows by giving them little highlights. Once the paint has dried, I'll take her outside and give her a final coat of sealant. Part of the reason I decided to go with the strength card was because I was really drawn to the yellow sky in the background. The yellow sky represents illumination, casting light into dark places, and I wanted to turn this doll's outfit into that beacon of light by using a strong yellow as its main color. For Strength's outfit, I was inspired by this Baaaccck gown that was famously worn by Rihanna at the Met Gala. This dress is dramatic and bold while being soft and delicate, just like the Strength card. And let's be real, Rihanna fits right in with a Strength card. Like with the Met Gala dress, I'll be constructing a long train for the back, but I'll be attaching it to a more boxy dress that will feature more items from the Strength card. For Strength's outfit, I'm starting out with the train, and I've adapted a pattern to fit the teardrop shape that I have in mind for it. I'll be making it out of two different fabrics. The first is a red floral liner fabric that will be seen from the front of the dress. I chose this fabric because it draws upon the color of the lion on the card, with the red symbolizing wild impulses, and I really appreciate that florals are worn by the lady on the card. Often when one thinks about strength, it isn't a delicate thing, and the florals on the card represent the wildness and virtue that each of us holds within ourselves. The second cloth is this yellow satin fabric, which again represents that illuminating light of self-enlightenment. Like Rihanna's dress, I want there to be volume around the perimeter of the train, so for mine, I'm going to make a channel using stuffing and pipe cleaners. I'm first gluing on the pipe cleaners, which I'm using to give the train flexibility and strength. Next, after sewing the two fabric pieces together, I'm starting to add fluff to the channel between the pipe cleaner and the seam. Then I'm running a line of stitches on the opposite side of the pipe cleaner to give the channel definition, almost like lines I've seen in quilting. I'm sure there's proper terminology for all of this, but I'm just kind of following my intuition here. This is my first time using satin, and a walking foot on my machine probably would have helped a lot to keep the fabric from shifting. I definitely had to do some cleaning up here and there. On the Met Gala dress, the outer edge of the train has a fluffy fur trim. I wanted to include this on my train as well, but I wasn't sure how best to add it to the layers. But then I looked down at my fabric and noticed the selvage and how the edge looks almost like feathers. This was an aha moment, and I decided that instead of fur, I was going to fray the outer edge. So bit by bit, I picked at the raw edge of the train until it started to feather out for me. Now to give the whole thing structure, I cut a piece of felt out and we're going to insert it into the train and then close up the sides. Now to decorate, I found these golden floral appliques which will make it look like there are vines growing up the train. This to me symbolizes the strength of finding your own persistence with balance and inner calm. You don't need to rule by trying to control others. Rather, you can quietly influence change around you. And for a little special touch, I'm next adding some of these little yellow rhinestones to the center of each of the flowers. Now that the train is done, we can start working on making her dress. But before we do that, I really wanted to incorporate the lion from the card into her outfit. Ever since I made my Fairy Made Dolls embroidered wings, I've been wanting to add more embroidery into my dolls. So for this doll, I was inspired by medieval tapestries and medieval lions, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to embroider a lion for her dress. To get things started, I've traced my lion onto that same floral fabric I used for the train. And first things first, I'm going to start by outlining our lion friend in black. Now we can move on to filling him in. I'll be using different yellows and oranges throughout to give the impression of shadows and fur. While I work, let's talk about the lion on the card. The lion represents raw passions and desires. We see the lady on the card stroking him and that he's relaxed with his mouth open. This suggests that even though lions are thought of as ferocious beasts, that the lady was able to tame him. How though? Well, not by force or coercion, but through the purity of her spirit and calming and loving energy. This signifies that our animal instincts and raw passions can be expressed in positive ways if you can apply inner strength and resilience. Next up, I'm cutting out the lion so that we can use it as a sort of patch on the dress. Around the edge of the patch, I'm adding some of the fabric salvage so we can have the same kind of fringe that we added on the train. I've gone ahead and cut out the pattern pieces of the dress using that same yellow satin, and now I'm adding a collar around the neck using a little bias tape I made out of that floral red. To the bottom, I'm hemming and adding more fringe to make it look cohesive with the train. And now we can attach the patch to the dress. So apologies, I apparently didn't film when I attached the sleeves and the train, but here it is put together. And now I'm putting her shoes on. On the card we can see just a little bit of blue mountains in the background. And as a nod to this, and for the pop of color, I chose these blue and gold shoes for her. Now it's time to come back to her hair. As you can see, she has a beautifully full head of curls, and for her hairstyling, we're going to be giving her 2 space buns in the front with loose curls in the back, almost like a mane and 2 lion ears. With the 2 buns in place, I want to make sure that they stand out, so I'm smoothing out the hair at the crown of her head just a little bit so they don't get lost. To keep things smoothed down, I'm applying some of Doll Planet's Galaxy Glue and using a pipe cleaner to keep this section in place while it dries. On the card, the lady wears a crown of flowers with an infinity sign floating above her head. But for our strength doll, I'm going to be giving her more of a halo crown. To build the structure of the crown, I'll be cutting this metal bangle to fit on this doll-sized headband. Then to attach it, I'll be using UV resin to act like the glue. This was recommended to me, and this is the first time I'm trying it, and so far I'm really liking the fast curing time. To make the infinity symbol, I'll be using Worbla thermoplastic. If you aren't familiar with Worbla, this plastic becomes moldable once it's heated up. I'm using a heat gun to soften it, and then rolling it into a little snake and forming the infinity shape, which represents wisdom and higher understanding. To prep the Worbla for painting, I'm trying out a trick I saw on Pinterest and applying a couple layers of Mod Podge first. This is supposed to give it a smoother surface. I think the whole crown will look better as gold, so I will be spray painting this outside and using this metallic gold. Now that the crown is gold, I don't think the Mod Podge worked that well, so we're going to be covering it up by using a crafter's secret weapon, glitter. And I can't leave the rest of the crown plain, so for some final embellishment, I'm adding some green rhinestones to both sides. And here she is, our finished strength card doll. I'm really happy with how her hair turned out. I love the little space buns with the cascading curls. And I love Cleo's sharp angular facial features, but the curls do soften her overall look, but in a way that doesn't take away from her powerful presence. Making the outfit was a really fun challenge this time around, from figuring out how to construct the train to spending hours zoning out and embroidering her lion patch. It offered a lot of curveballs for me to learn from. For example, I love the powerful yellow and the silkiness of the satin fabric that I used, but the overall fabric did cause me difficulties along the way. I had to do a lot of unpicking and adjusting to get my stitches even in some places. I would love to use this fabric again in the future, but I will have to do a little more research on what presser foot would work best for this type of fabric. But overall, I'm really happy and proud of how Strength turned out. Please do let me know in the comments what you think of her. Do you think she captured the essence of the Strength card? Your comments are always so helpful and keep me motivated to keep working and improving my skills. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm still a kind of small channel, and every like, comment, and sub really helps my channel grow. But before we go, be sure to stay tuned because Strength and I are going to pull out the tarot deck and we're going to draw the next 3 cards to pick our next doll from. Okay, so first up we have the Queen of Wands. Then the Hierophant. And last, Judgment. Please let me know in the comments which one you want me to do next, and I will see you next time with another doll repaint video. Bye!